It's up until
I'm going to only be 5 minutes,
it's
Chair.
up until 21 past 6. I mean, yes.
Advocate, there is in your annual report says there was 57.4 million in funding that was received from the federal government of the Republic of Germany. What was that for?
So that is primarily to deal with capacitating the NPA to fight corruption. And to say that, it wasn't money that the NPA received, but we received services that helps us to capacitate the NPA.
Okay. And who conceptualized the project?
It was conceptualized in the NPA.
Okay.
Of course, with the government of Germany.
Okay. Did the NPA approach the Hans Siedel, is it Hans Siedel Foundation? Because this is the NGO that the funding was channeled through. Am I correct?
We worked with the government of Germany, and the government of Germany decided on the partner that will implement in South Africa.
Do you know why they chose the Hans Siedel Foundation?
I have no idea.
You didn't ask?
No, it was the German government. They were giving us the sponsorship, the assistance, and I assumed that as a government they would do the responsible thing.
Okay. Do you know that the Hans Siedel, but as part of our government, don't you think you should also do the responsible thing and find out what was the story behind the Hans Siedel Foundation? Because do you know that they also collaborate with News 24?
I'm not aware of that.
And that it collaborates with the Institution of Security Studies that is chaired by a Jackie Salas, who goes around calling for prosecution of members of parliament and engages political discourse.
I didn't know that either, but I'm not sure how that becomes a challenge. It would be good to understand.
So you don't see how private funding can risk the capture of institution, of any institution for that matter, yet alone institutions like our criminal justice system. And we also had our previous Concord Mogoeng, who refused to take private funding as well because of the sacredness of these institutions that we have. And why do you feel differently?
So let me say that with regard to and it's not private funding. We are not getting funds, but we have engaged in innovative partnerships with the private sector to ensure that we get the skills and capacities that we need to assist us in the fight against corruption. The reason why we think this is not problematic is that we put safeguards in place to make sure that we distance ourselves from the funding as such, but also to be clear that this is in line with international good practice. The UN Convention Against Corruption specifically states that it's important for government to actually partner with the private sector in their fight against corruption. So this is an international good practice, and we have engaged in a very strategic way with relevant partners to ensure that we get the capacities, capabilities in the NPA, which in a very financially and fiscally constrained environment, we do not have. So this was actually bilateral meetings that we had with the government of Germany and the South African government. I understand even ministers been involved. And so we put in place the safeguards to get the assistance to train and capacitate, really bespoke training for prosecutors and investigators in the fight against corruption.
On how foreign governments capture countries. And it starts off, sometimes it's not always in the form of money, but exactly that, it's training. They're training prosecutors of our country. So the issue of being trained, being captured by another government, being in such close proximity, you don't see, leave the UN out. I mean, the UN cannot be our standard, and if we look at other issues, on how they handle matters in the country. Let's talk about what we need here in the country. We've come out of a country that's both been colonized and through the apartheid. We need to stand on our own feet, and we need to manage. The fact that you even say, Advocate, that you didn't see any need to investigate this organization because you figured that Germany would do the right thing is problematic.
Honourable Member, I can understand the concern that you could have countries that would try to, in some way, influence things in another country. That's, of course, it's possible. But in this case, we control, it's not like the German government or the implementing partner that they chose are the ones that decide on what training we get. The training has been, the manuals have been developed completely by South African experts and prosecutors that sat together for days to develop a complete training manual drawing on our expertise. So it's completely something that's in-house. It is something that we control all aspects of with regard to the training. We even train, we get experts here. It's just the support in terms of getting
It's money, though.
the funded. I understand that it is money, but it's different where people would go to another country and get training that we have no control over. Here we have complete control over what is happening. We want to ensure that our prosecutors have the necessary capacities, and because of the fact that we are in a fiscally constrained environment, we've been innovative in trying to deal with these gaps to ensure that we can fight this fight properly.
You also said we don't need any more money, and here we are getting 57.7 million from another foundation that you didn't do any due diligence on. And to even go as far as your disclaimer saying we do our own training, we do our own manuals, etc. here, but you've just said, Advocate, that you don't know anything. You didn't even know that it's linked to this Jackie Sellis. You don't know about the Institution of Security Studies that he chairs, and that's problematic.
Thank you. Honourable Member, there's some things about what you said that I know about and other things that I don't know about. So the initial links that you mentioned, yes, I don't know anything about that. But what I do know about is the way we've been working with the government of Germany to ensure that we are able to get the training that we want. And there's other, there are other governments that are supporting other entities in South Africa with things like training. For example, the French government is in a partnership with the SIU to provide training for them. And so I agree, we need to have safeguards to ensure, for example, the things we have put in place. And, my understanding is that the Hans Seidel Foundation has, for decades worked with the German government as a trusted partner. So, I think it's important to understand that their role is an implementing partner for the German government. But we have really, I want to urge, we put in place controls to make sure that we control what happens, and it's not like getting training that's decided on by another government.
And then perhaps, Advocate, if we did more to end corruption, we wouldn't have to be begging with Germany and France and other countries to partner with to do very basic services we're supposed to offer our citizens. It's actually shameful, because I don't think any of those countries take any funding from South Africa to do any services over there. And these are just the bare basic services that we're supposed to offer our country, and we are taking funding from foreign governments to do it. It's quite disgraceful.
If I might respond to that, please, Honourable Member. Two things. I think in the first instance, I agree with you completely that if we could deal with corruption more effectively in this country, it's not just about taking money from other countries to fight corruption. Africa is almost the beggars of the West when it comes to aid and funding. It should never be the case. Africa is a rich continent. We have enough to pay for everything we need. But we become beggars to the rest of the world because of corruption in our countries. And I agree with you completely. If we're able to deal with corruption, we don't need money from anyone in the world. We'll be able to fund all of this. And just to clarify the point I made about the budget, we have for this, as I said, we have funding for budget for this year, but for the outer years, we are going to need a substantial increase in our budget. Thank you.
And this brings us to the next question on corruption. So the Auditor General reports annually that billions of rands are classified as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And there's also irregular, unauthorized expenditure across all government entities. So how many cases has the NPA enrolled for violations of Section 38, 39, and 40 of the Public Finance Management Act? Can we get
Honourable
them?
Member, I don't have the stats before me. We can certainly get that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you have a team and we can submit that, because if we can pursue labour-related cases, I think these are when we talk about corruption. And the more we are pursuing corruption cases and this wasteful expenditure cases, I think we're less likely to find that they continue spiraling. I want to talk about the complaints. In your report, you've also, in your statement actually, on point 52, you've indicated there were 58 complaints that were lodged against prosecutors between 2019 and 2025. And then you've indicated how many were...
The reference? I beg your pardon?
I think it is point 52.
On my affidavit? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. $22. Is it 50? Sorry, Honourable.
58 complaints were lodged, and then you explain what was the outcomes of these 58.
Sorry, the paragraph number?
On paragraph 52. Have you got it? Yeah. So you've got about 3,500 prosecutors. Am I more or less right? And there's about 280 that are on contract. Across the country, how many prosecutors we have?
Across around 3,500,
Yeah.
yes.
So, Advocate, to say that we've only received 58 complaints for such a long time, it's shocking. I'm sure half of South Africa is falling off their chairs or hitting into some car or taxi right now. It can't be. So there's either two things, and maybe you should look into it or explain. It's either that we don't know where, or South Africans at large do not know where to lodge complaints. The average person on the street, we can just step out here in Cape Town and go and ask anyone what they think about the NPA, and someone will have a story to tell. So to say we only receive 58 complaints means that there's something wrong with the system. And I have a personal experience. I've lodged a complaint against a prosecutor a long time ago. The only time I got a response, and I did it through the right channels, the only time I got a response is when I went on social media. So can you respond to that? Because it can't be that you have that many prosecutors and we only get 58 complaints that you've reported at least.
I will certainly look. The numbers, I agree with you, appear to be low given the numbers that we have. But I will have to confirm. I imagine that my team have given me the correct numbers. We have on our website, people are able to get complaints. We have an ethics hotline where complaints can be made. If you go onto our website, you'll be able to find it. So, I would imagine that that's the first point of call for people will be the website to make complaints. With regard to your complaint personally,
It's a long time ago. I've even given up hope.
Okay.
But I was using that as an example that I followed up, and I would even still have it, like 3 or 4 times. And only when I went on social media, then they called me and asked for information about it.
Chair, I take heart in hearing it was a long time ago, so maybe things have changed now. I certainly
No,
hope
it
so.
was during your time, though, but I'll send it through. But I'm saying that that amount cannot be, it's shocking. Your statement also seems that you've made a deliberate effort to demonstrate that there's sufficient oversight at IDAC. So if there was, why was it necessary for us to insert Section 22A for oversight? Because, I mean, otherwise we're just doing wasteful expenditure.
That's a very good question. Initially, it was not in. It was raised by the Minister of Police, Minister Tsele, because the DPCI has a judge. And so it was in that context that we agreed to it.
So did you agree that there wasn't proper, or the oversight that is needed, that the police have, that IDAC needed?
We didn't see the need for it initially because we felt that there were sufficient systems in place to address misconduct or allegations of misconduct in any part of the NPA. But having inserted it, I think it's actually better to have a higher level of oversight. So I would agree that that's a good addition, which wasn't in the original draft.
On point 34 of your statement, you have recruited investigators from SAPS for IDAC. Was that a wise move to do? Because we already have chronic shortages of investigators in SAPS as it is. And then IDAC has gone to, or you have seconded, and this is from your statement, or you've seconded investigators from SAPS. How does that leave SAPS?
Well, if that didn't happen, the ID wouldn't have been able to work. We would have created an ID that couldn't work. It required partnerships with various other partners in the justice system to capacitate it, because it was temporary at that time, and the numbers were very low. And that's why I mentioned earlier that the secondment model was not going to work, because where you have other entities that are themselves struggling with capacity, how do you expect them to support and assist a new directorate that is required to do work that the country is expecting it to deliver on at breakneck speed? It's just not possible. So under the old structure, it was necessary to get investigators that had the necessary powers and experience. And we are grateful to the DPCI for supporting and assisting the IDAC. Otherwise, it would have been pointless setting up this entity. But now that the IDAC is permanent, we're able to recruit from outside. But of course, if people, it happens in government, people move, we lose people to SARS and the external, partners or businesses, and it happens in government. And that is why I said, unless we regularize the salary issues, it will be easier for people to remain in the entities without moving for other better opportunities.
How many of the investigators that you have now in IDAC, I keep saying the wrong things, have had criminal charges at some point, whether they were successfully prosecuted or not? Are you able to give, I'm sure you don't have it offhand, but if you can get that. And also, how many were dismissed from previous institutions for misconduct? I think that's very important.
We'll certainly get that information. I would be interested in that as well.
Okay, the Scorpions and IDAC we've answered. We want to talk about the former NPA's ID, Advocate Kranji. Is it Kranji? He resigned in 2021. Do you know why he resigned? She, sorry, yes.
I suppose it would be best for her to answer that.
But, yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, do you know?
I'm not sure what the exact reason was at the end of the day, but I suppose, she had her reasons for deciding it was best to leave the NPA.
Are you aware of the reports where she said she was fed up because there was resistance to bring the right people to book, And do you have a comment on that? Do you know about those reports? Because
I'm not aware of that report.
so
But-
you came in, you didn't know anything, you didn't do any investigations on why she would just resign and just be fed up. We're asking for your opinion here. We're not saying that whatever you say is going to be the gospel truth, but what is it that you got from it?
I think there were frustrations all round, and Advocate Cronje decided it was best that she left.
Do you want to talk about some of the frustrations that she had expressed to you?
No,
Why?
it's her personal reasons, and I think it's best that if she
So
wants
she
to talk
didn't-
about it, it's best that she talks about it herself.
Honourable Adams, so you said you just got a high-level briefing from Advocate Johnson regarding the Khumalo arrest, which stemmed from the cases that Honourable Adams opened. Given hindsight, do you think that do you know, or do you think that there should have been an explanation that Honourable Adams should have given to IDAC on why he was not cooperating with SAPS before IDAC started and pursued the case? Because number one, in Advocate Johnson's statement, she said that the case or the report ended up coming to IDAC after Honourable Adams opened 4 cases. The police tried to contact him. He didn't respond. He came and he lodged a complaint with IDAC saying that the cases were missing, etc. So given hindsight, do you think that this is something that IDAC should have pursued? Are you familiar now that everything has happened? We're talking about hindsight, how IDAC should have handled the complaint.
I don't think it would have precluded IDAC from continuing with the matter because it falls within its mandate. But it would have been good to know why he was not cooperating with the police. I agree.
And have you asked them yet? Because we couldn't get a clear answer.
No, I haven't. I wasn't even aware of that.
Advocate, there's a lot of things you're not aware of. It feels like we are sitting with Lieutenant General Sabia, who was not sure of a lot of things. Let's talk about Lieutenant General Khumalo. When he was arrested, he was banned from going to his office. And Advocate Johnson said that it was because he was going to interfere, or there was a possibility that he would interfere with witnesses who were at the headquarters. Is that not bizarre? Because I don't even see your best prosecutors, when they're dealing with accused child rapists, asking a magistrate to say the bail condition, this accused child rapist must not go to the community where their child is. But it was done in this case. Why wasn't Lieutenant Khumalo not just asked to not interfere with witnesses?
I don't know what the circumstances of this case are, as I explained, and what fears or concerns the IDAC had about the head of an entity being able to influence or interfere with investigations with regard to his subordinates. So given the circumstances of this case, it doesn't appear to be that it was an unusual request, because it appears that the whatever took place in crime intelligence, and this is the head. So a lot of the evidence will be in that office.
But so I'm using it in the same sense of, you don't do that. We have child rapists, family members. You don't get prosecutors doing that and saying that, and you're doing it in a labor-related case. And he wasn't banned from work either, so that's another thing. He was just banned from headquarters, so it's not like he wasn't able to access whatever information. So what Advocate Johnson said was that he was going to interfere with witnesses, not about him accessing information.
That's my understanding. And with all due respect, we do object to bail in cases with regard to the type that you mentioned, where you have rapists, etc. We object, we do that all the time. And a number of them in those cases are in fact kept in custody, but there may be cases where they are released on bail.
Advocate, but we won't go into it. So on this case also, you don't know, on this issue about the bail condition and them banning him from his place of employment. You're not sure also about this and whether it was not reaching.
All I'm saying is that I don't have the facts upon which
Okay,
the
that's what I'm
IDAC
asking. Okay.
decided.
So, Advocate, you don't think it's like you knew that you were coming here, you knew that your IDAC head was here, you didn't familiarize with yourself with things that actually is quite bothering.
With all due respect, Honourable Member, those are questions that the IDAC head must answer.
Yes, she did,
Because
and now we're asking
it
you
is
as her head.
It is within the realm of operations that she actually, the IDAC and the ID, deals with these matters. And she would be best placed to answer those questions because I don't have the facts. And so instead of me familiarizing myself with facts, she would be first-hand knowledge to give you the facts.
I agree with that, and she's been here. I'm asking you as her head, after this whole thing has exploded and it's all over, you haven't called her and sat her down and gone through this and see like what has happened, even up to now.
With all due respect, Honourable Member, we've been preparing for this, and there hasn't been much time between her testimony and now.
But even before she came and gave her testimony, these things have been in the media for a long time. So even before she came to give her testimony, I think as our National Director of Public Prosecutors, you should have long sat down and got information about this. I mean, we're talking about, and I'm not saying that Lieutenant General Kamalo must be above the law, but we certainly cannot just have our head of state security just being arrested without, of crime intelligence, I beg your pardon, without you having sat down and gone through it and crossed I's and dotted T's, because it makes us as South Africans feel extremely unsafe.
With all due respect, Honourable Mathys, it is the national directors. I dealt with the powers of an ID and DPPs and what they do. The NDPP is a review mechanism, and therefore the decisions to prosecute, the management of cases, the objections to bail are all operational issues that are dealt with by a DPP or an ID and the teams, not by the NDPP. And these issues have now come up in the context of this, this hearing. But those are issues that reside solely, they're operational issues, and the National Director needs to, of course, be briefed at a high level. But the operational matters are for the teams and the DPP to deal with. That is their power and responsibility. But of course, if they do something wrong, then you're right, the National Director must get involved and understand what is going on.
So how would you know if they did anything wrong if you, after you see all this and you don't call them and you don't get a briefing?
Well, if there are complaints about it, is one way of understanding that things have gone wrong. But otherwise, we must respect the authority that the Act gives to people to do their jobs.
But the issue is not saying that you must interfere. As you said, there's nothing wrong with saying, come and give me a brief on what happened here. You don't have to give instructions, but to understand and to be able to guide. And those are two very different things. And it is within your mandate to be able to make sure that our national prosecuting agency is working and operating as highly functional as possible. Let's move on to the case of
if I can just comment on that. I think it's important that to understand that I do receive reports, and it's important, especially when there are high-profile people involved, that the NDPP is properly briefed and understands, and we don't have rogue elements in the NPA doing what they want to do. So there is that level of supervision of a national director that is critical in these cases. And so I got the briefing from Advocate Johnson, but reasons why they objected to bail, they will understand from the circumstances of this particular matter.
You've indicated that you got intelligence from Lieutenant General Kamalo about the corrupt or alleged corrupt prosecutor. Was this the first time that you received intelligence from SAPS regarding prosecutors, including from the National Commissioner?
To my knowledge, yes, but I think this is the first time.
What was the minister's response? What was the minister's response when you told her about the intelligence report that you got from SAPS about?
She was very concerned about it.
Okay. And the president, when you met with him?
He was also concerned about it.
And what was besides him being concerned, he's always concerned and shocked. We know that as a country. What guidance did he give in the matter? What guidance did the president give in the matter?
Well, I had reported it to him, and it was now for the president to take it further. There was nothing further I could do about it.
Brian Pariachi, Advocate Johnson said that he was in his position before she got into office. Do you know anything about his appointment? Apparently he was headhunted to join
Yeah, he was
IDAC.
appointed when Advocate Cronier was the ID.
He was appointed when who, sorry?
The previous ID, Advocate Cronier.
Oh, okay. So do you know anything about, were you part of the appointment? Did you know anything about it?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't briefed or anything about it?
I wasn't.
You wrote to the president, I think this point has been, or this question has been asked a few times about Advocate Chakwe. I just wanted to know whether he was involved in any bail matters concerning Mr. Molefe. Do you know, or can you check?
I'm not aware.
Will you be able to check and come back to us?
I can check. I would be surprised if he would personally do a bail application. It's unlikely, but I don't know. As the DPP, he has a role to play.
But you will be able to see if there's a pattern, if it's the same, because these are things I would have thought should have been done by now, given how these matters have been circulated so much. And then, well, I guess the same applies to Makhlala as well, if you can also just find out if there's a pattern, because a lot of his cases were also withdrawn. So just to see if
We've looked into that, and I have a list of all the cases that were withdrawn. We are calling for the dockets. The police have sent some dockets. They're looking for others. And we are checking to see whether there's a pattern, who was involved, what were the reasons for the withdrawals, etc.
Okay.
So that work is underway.
Okay, so are we able to be furnished with that? I would have thought our evidence leaders would have asked those questions as well.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I'm saying, are we able to get a copy of that, of all the cases
I don't
that
see-
were withdrawn regarding?
I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you. And I'm done. Oh, no, I'm not done. Let's also just go back quickly to, we were talking largely about corruption cases, particularly around politicians or politicians that are well connected. So let's talk about the PPE cases and the CR17 cases, NPA on that.
The question is?
On PPA cases, PPE, sorry, I'm saying PPA, PPE cases, how many of those have been prosecuted, successfully prosecuted? Because it's talking about corruption during COVID.
I don't have the figures, but I know that the Fusion Center at the time was coordinating the response to PPE-related corruption matters. But we can get those figures very easily.
Okay, and then the CR17?
What about it?
The money, we had bank statements that were sealed. What, did the NPA play any role in that?
No.
It just went straight to a judge and they sealed. There
We had
was
no role
nothing.
in that.
There's never been a case that has been opened regarding the CR17
We had no role in that.
at all. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Can I check, honorable members, if you want to ask follow-up questions? Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Shongwe, the list, okay, Honorable Skosana, the list is closed.
No,